Thus, Vice Ministers of Foreign Affairs Zheng Zeguang, Kong Xuanyou, Assistant Foreign Minister Zhang Jun, and Assistant Minister of Commerce Li Chenggang to give you a briefing. They will also take questions from the media. First, I give the floor to Vice Foreign Minister Zheng Zeguang to give you a briefing on the state visit by President Xi Jinping to PNG and his meeting with leaders of Pacific Island countries having diplomatic relations with China. Friends from the press, good afternoon. I'm very glad to give you a briefing on the state visit by President Xi Jinping to PNG and his meeting with leaders of Pacific Island countries having diplomatic relations with China in PNG. At the invitation of Governor General Bob Dadai and Prime Minister Peter O'Neill of PNG, President Xi Jinping will pay a state visit to PNG from the 15th to the 16th November. During the visit, President Xi Jinping will have meetings with leaders from 8 Pacific Island countries having diplomatic relations with China in Port Moresby. This will be the first visit by a Chinese head of state to the PNG, and it will also be another meeting between President Xi and leaders of Pacific Island countries in 4 years. It will be of great significance for deepening China's relations with PNG and other Pacific Island countries having diplomatic relations with China. The government of PNG attaches great importance to this visit by President Xi Jinping and will accord his visit with the highest protocol standard. Leaders of Pacific Island countries are looking forward to their meeting with President Xi Jinping. This visit will help further elevate China's relations with Pacific Island countries, inject strong vitality to further exchange and cooperation between the two sides in a wide range of areas, and will have a far-reaching and a positive impact on peace, stability, and development of this region. Pacific Island countries are important members of the Asia-Pacific family, as well as an important part of the developing world. China has diplomatic relations with 8 Pacific Island countries: Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Samoa, Vanuatu, the Federated States of Micronesia, Cook Islands, Tonga, and Niue. In 2014, President Xi Jinping had a historic meeting with leaders of 8 Pacific Island countries having diplomatic relations with China in Nadi, Fiji. The two sides decided to establish a strategic partnership of mutual respect and common development. Over the past 4 years, the relations between China and these island countries have entered a fast track. The two sides have maintained frequent exchange of high-level visits and have achieved fruitful results in practical cooperation, including trade and investment, economic cooperation, and technological cooperation, infrastructure, people-to-people, cultural exchanges, and subnational interactions. In 2017, total trade between China and the Pacific Island countries reached $7.25 billion. China has become an important partner for trading in goods, export market, and a source of foreign capital for Pacific Island countries. A total investment by Chinese companies in Pacific Island countries exceeded $3 billion, giving a strong boost to the development of these countries, as well as improvement in the people's livelihood and job creation. As many as 100,000 Chinese tourists make these Pacific Island countries the first stop of their overseas travel, and there are over 1,200 students from Pacific Island countries studying in China, both figures reaching historical high. The PNG is the largest and most populous Pacific Island country, and an important country in the Pacific Island region, and an important partner of China's in the Pacific Island region. In recent years, thanks to the joint efforts of both sides, the two countries have witnessed a sound momentum of their bilateral relations. President Xi and Prime Minister O'Neill have met on a number of occasions and reached important agreement on further advancing the bilateral relations. Political mutual trust between the two countries have enhanced. Exchange and cooperation in a wide range of areas, including economy, trade, culture, have expanded, and China-PNG relations have become a model for China's relations with Pacific Island countries, as well as for South-South cooperation. For this trip by President Xi Jinping to South Pacific, we have the following expectations. First, we hope to further deepen China's friendship and cooperation with PNG. During the visit, President Xi will have in-depth exchange of views with PNG leaders on developing bilateral relations and international and regional issues of shared interest. The two leaders will also jointly witness the signing of a number of agreements. Second, we hope to elevate the relations between China and Pacific Island countries as a whole. During his stay in PNG, President Xi Jinping will hold separate bilateral meetings with leaders from 7 other Pacific Island countries having diplomatic relations. He will also have a collective meeting with leaders from Pacific Island countries having diplomatic relations and deliver an important speech. He will fully elaborate on China's policies, including the principle of sincerity, real results, amity, and good faith, and the principle of pursuing the greater good and shared interest. He will announce a number of major measures on the part of China in support of the development of Pacific Island countries and deepening cooperation with these countries. He will also map out a blueprint for the development of relations between China and these island countries in the new era. Thirdly, we hope to further advance solidarity and cooperation among developing countries. This year is a South-South cooperation year for Chinese diplomacy. Meetings within the frameworks of cooperation forums between China and Latin America, between China and Arab states, and between China and Africa have been held. Pacific Island countries are developing countries. This visit will help further deepen friendship and cooperation between China and island countries and give a strong boost to the efforts to build a community with a shared future for mankind. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Minister Zheng. Now, Vice Minister Kong on President Xi's state visit to Brunei and the Philippines. Friends from the press, good afternoon. At the invitation of His Majesty Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei and President Duterte of the Philippines, President Xi Jinping will pay a state visit to Brunei and the Philippines from the 18th to the 21st of November after the APEC economic leaders meeting. This will be the first visit by President Xi to the two countries, and it will also be the first visit by a Chinese head of state to these two countries in 13 years. It will be of milestone significance for elevating China-Brunei and China-Philippine relations in the new era. First, on the visit to Brunei. China and Brunei are friends and close neighbors. This year marks the 5th anniversary of the strategic cooperative partnership between China and Brunei. The Sultan Yang di-Pertuan Brunei came to China in September last year for the China-ASEAN Expo and paid a state visit to China. And after this state visit to Brunei by President Xi, the two heads of state will have exchanged historical visits within a short period of time, helping to lay out the top-level design for the future of bilateral relations. Now, the two countries are working to form a synergy between China's Belt and Road Initiative and Brunei's strategy for economic diversification. Their practical cooperation in areas have expanded. In particular, good progress have been made in such areas as infrastructure, fishery, and petrochemicals, bringing real benefits to the two peoples, in particular the local people. The two countries have worked together to elevate China-ASEAN relations at multilateral fora and helped strengthen cooperation between China and the BIM-IGA region where Brunei is located, which helped boost local development and prosperity. During the visit, President Xi will hold meetings with His Majesty the Sultan and have in-depth exchange of views on China-Brunei relations and regional and international issues of shared interest. They will lay out a comprehensive plan for mutually beneficial cooperation between the two sides in all areas. To reflect the important agreement between the leaders and outcome of the visit, the two sides plan to issue a joint statement during this visit. Relevant departments are discussing a number of documents involving the joint efforts under the Belt and the Road Initiative framework, as well as people-to-people and culture exchanges. And the two leaders will jointly witness the signing of those agreements when conditions are met. On the visit to the Philippines is a close neighbor and important partner of China. Thanks to the guidance of the two presidents and the efforts of both sides, the relations between China and Philippines have been strengthened and growing all the way, and they face rare opportunity of development both at bilateral and multilateral levels. First, political mutual trust have been enhanced. After President Duterte took office, the two presidents have met for several times and reached a number of important agreements on the importance of upholding good neighborly friendship, properly handling differences, and working for common progress, setting out the direction for the future of bilateral relations. Secondly, cooperation in all areas have fully recovered and have been going from strength to strength. Last year, China-Philippines bilateral trade exceeded $50 billion, and China was the Philippines' largest trading partner. Important progress has been made in infrastructure cooperation. Philippine fruit export to China and Chinese travelers to the Philippines have increased significantly in number, and good progress has been made in counter-narcotics and counter-terrorism cooperation. Thirdly, the two sides continue to properly handle the issue of South China Sea through dialogue in a proper manner. They have effectively managed disputes at sea, actively advanced maritime cooperation, including joint oil and gas exploration, work together to uphold peace and stability in the South China Sea. Fourthly, they have supported each other at regional and multilateral levels. Last year, the Philippines was the rotating chair of ASEAN, and this year, the Philippines became the country coordinator for China-ASEAN relations. The two sides have maintained sound cooperation on China-ASEAN relations and East Asia cooperation as a whole. The two sides worked closely at the United Nations and other multilateral fora to uphold the common interests of the developing world. During the visit, President Xi will hold a meeting with President Duterte. He will also meet with the President of the Senate, Soto, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Arroyo. The leaders will make strategic plans for the development of bilateral relations, further elevate practical cooperation in all areas, and have in-depth exchange of views on international and regional issues of shared interest. To reflect the important agreement between the leaders and the outcome of it, the two sides plan to issue a joint statement, and relevant departments are having consultations on a number of documents, including economic and trade relations, infrastructure, and people-to-people exchanges, and the leaders will be invited to witness the signing of some of those documents when conditions are met.
Thank you, Vice Minister Kong Shen-Yu. And I'll give the floor to Assistant Minister Zhang Jun, who will brief you about President Xi Jinping's attendance at the 26th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. Friends, good afternoon. I'm very happy to brief you about President Xi Jinping's attendance at the 26th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. As we know, the 26th meeting will be held from 17th to 18th of November in Port Moresby, the capital city of Papua New Guinea. At the invitation of PNG Prime Minister O'Neill, President Xi will attend the meeting. The APEC is an important cooperation mechanism in the Asia-Pacific region. China has always actively participated in Asia-Pacific cooperation. And in 2001 and 2014, we hosted the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting and played an important role. This will be the 6th time for President Xi in a row to attend or chair the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. This is ample evidence of the great importance China attaches to economic cooperation in the Asia-Pacific. The Asia-Pacific is the largest scale and most dynamic economic region in the world. For the Asia-Pacific to keep in the right direction of cooperation and maintain a steady momentum of growth is critically important for sustained and solid growth in the world economy. Currently, the Asia-Pacific maintains a stable situation overall, but it is also facing new circumstances and challenges. Under the assault of unilateralism and protectionism, the Asia-Pacific is faced with many uncertainties. In this context, all parties have high expectations for this meeting. This year will be the first time for PNG to hold an APEC Leaders Meeting. The theme will be harnessing inclusive opportunities and embracing a digital future. Participating parties will focus on regional economic integration, digital economy, connectivity, sustainable and inclusive growth, and other topics to exchange views, build consensus, and issue a leaders' declaration. The major events of the meeting will be held mainly on the 17th and 18th. During the meeting, President Xi will attend the APEC CEO Summit and deliver an important keynote speech. At the Economic Leaders Meeting, he will deliver important statement, attend the working lunch, and the ABAC dialogue with APEC leaders. President Xi will proceed from the overall situation in the world and the Asia-Pacific and give an in-depth elaboration on China's positions and the propositions. He will share his views on the direction of cooperation to cement partnerships, deepen practical cooperation, address common challenges, and ensure the healthy and steady growth of Asia-Pacific cooperation. During the meeting, President Xi will also hold bilateral meetings with participating leaders and exchange views with them on the international situation, bilateral relations, and other issues of mutual interest. So far, the preparations for this meeting is well underway. China commends the Papua New Guinea for the enormous work they've done for the preparation of this meeting and support their efforts to organize it. We have provided all-round help, and we are ready to work with all parties to ensure that the Port Moresby meeting is a full success and inject fresh impetus to Asia-Pacific cooperation. We also want to make our new contribution to global economic development, and we look forward to positive outcomes from this meeting in the following aspects. First, in our effort to build an open economy and maintain in the right direction of development in the Asia-Pacific, China is ready to work with other parties to uphold the rules-based multilateral trading system and steadily advance the building of an FTAP. We would like to work with others to oppose protectionism and unilateralism, further promote trade and investment liberalization and facilitation. This is also the most central content of APEC cooperation and an important experience for the Asia-Pacific to maintain its dynamic growth for many years. Despite the challenges we face, we must keep to this general direction. Maintaining and expanding market access is still the path we must take. Second, in our effort to advance cooperation across the board to produce practical outcomes, the digital economy represents the future of global and regional economic development. APEC Beijing meeting focused on innovation-driven development and produced important outcomes. China supports the APEC to formulate plans on a digital economic cooperation, establish work mechanism arrangements, and maintain the momentum of innovation-driven growth. We are also ready to work with others to deepen our connectivity cooperation, strengthen synergy between our development plans, and achieve interconnected growth. Third, in our effort to deepen partnership and build a community with a shared future in the Asia-Pacific, given the current context, the Asia-Pacific need to strengthen a sense of community, consolidate and deepen our partnerships. Parties should look to the future, uphold a spirit of mutual respect and constructive attitude, properly address our differences, and pursue win-win cooperation. Fourthly, in our effort to formulate a post-2020 cooperation vision to guide the long-term development of the APEC. This year, the APEC officially launched discussions on the future vision. We hope that all parties will show a strategic perspective, keep the right direction, identify the priorities in our cooperation and the path of cooperation, so as to lay a solid foundation for the long-term development of our regional economy. We look forward that this economic meeting will provide important guidance for this. We are convinced that with the joint efforts of all parties, the Port Moresby meeting will be a successful and unique APEC meeting. China is ready to participate in the meeting in a constructive attitude and take concrete actions to promote Asia-Pacific cooperation. We will create greater opportunities for Asia-Pacific development and prosperity with our own development and make our own new greater contribution. Thank you. Thank you, Assistant Minister Zhang Jun, and I give the floor to Assistant Minister Li Chenggang of Commerce, who will brief you about President Xi's attendance at the APEC meeting on the economic front. Friends, good afternoon. This year's APEC meeting is themed under Harnessing Inclusive Opportunities, Embracing the Digital Future. It is aimed to enhance connectivity and deepen regional economic integration, promote inclusive and sustainable growth, and step up structural reform for inclusive growth. Among these goals, enhancing connectivity and deepening regional economic integration has been a key topic for APEC for a long time. This year, under the guidance of the Xi Jinping thought on socialism within China's characteristic for a new era, and as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of reform and opening up and rolling out new measures of opening up to the world, we will comprehensively deepen our cooperation in Asia-Pacific connectivity and regional economic integration, enhance trade and investment liberalization and facilitation, and make active preparations for the economic outcomes from this meeting. We look forward to the following outcomes. First, we will comprehensively advance trade connectivity. Specifically, we want to see new progress in the Asia-Pacific Model ePorts Network, also known as APMEN. For over 4 years since its inception, APMEN has organized events on capacity building and information exchanges and explored pilot programs such as data visualization and mutual recognition and a system for preferential tariffs. The APEC this year completed a review on APMEN. Parties recognized the positive progress of APMEN in the last 4 years and discussed a work plan for the next 4 years for APMEN. It is hopeful that the new work plan will be adopted before the leaders' meeting to translate the program into a standing mechanism. We also want to see important progress in the global value chain cooperation and to see a basic establishment of a APEC TIVA database. Under the co-chairmanship of China and the United States, we have accelerated this process and encouraged all members to basically complete their supply use tables interconnectivity to ensure that the database is basically completed by the end of this year. This will help we have a comprehensive measurement standard for the GVC cooperation among the members. These outcomes are resonating effectively with China's Belt and Road Trade Connectivity Initiative. China has made important contribution in this process. Second, we will deepen our cooperation on regional economic integration and advance the FTAP. Along the direction of the Beijing Roadmap, we have completed a collective strategic study on the FTAP and issued a Lima Declaration in 2017. At the Da Nang meeting, we have formulated multi-year work plans and specific initiatives in a number of areas, and we are looking forward to some further progress in the fields that we already have a mandate. This economic leaders meeting is expected to adopt an APEC cross-sector principles on non-tariff measures and non-binding principles on domestic services regulations, as well as other important policy guidelines. There will also be an initiative on facilitating investment in the Asia-Pacific region. Thirdly, we will contribute economic elements to a post-2020 vision. As the BOGO goals will expire by 2020, APEC has launched discussions on the post-2020 vision in 2016. In 2007, parties agreed to establish a vision group to discuss the formulation of this vision. This year, parties have discussed relevant report outlines. In the economic and trade field, we have agreed to focus on the general goal of establishing an open Asia-Pacific economy featuring extensive participation and benefit for all, with support of a high-standard free trade area in the Asia-Pacific, a comprehensive connectivity and inclusive digital future. China will express our support for the formulation of the post-2020 vision and our position to further advance trade and investment facilitation and liberalization. Apart from this, China will also encourage the meeting to send a positive signal supporting multilateral trading system. APEC economies account for nearly 50% of global trade and have always played an exemplary role in supporting multilateral trading system and promoting trade liberalization facilitation. Many of the earliest members who have ratified the trade facilitation agreement are APEC members. Given the serious challenges in the multilateral trading system and the rise of protectionism in unilateralism, China, as an important holder of multilateral trading system, will work with most members to push the meeting toward a positive tone that supports the multilateral trading system. Thank you.
Now the floor is open. So please tell us your media affiliation before the questions, and please tell us who your question is addressed to. And please ask them.
Press conference coming to you live regarding President Xi's trip to Southeast Asia. He's visiting it's a state visit to Papua New Guinea, also to Brunei and the Philippines. Well, let's go live now to Mr. Yang Shiyu, who is in the studio with me. He's a senior fellow from the China Institute of International Studies. Thank you for joining me. What did you make of that press conference?
Well, it's a really informative briefings, including containing a wide range of information and ideas. And 3 points I can take from these briefings. Number one, regarding to the APEC, China is ready to contribute greater than before to the development of the APEC itself. Frankly speaking, APEC now is at a crossroad. Whether APEC, so going to be a greater player in this region for the sustainable development, or going to a talking forum. And China obviously wants APEC to be the former one, say greater role rather than just talking forum. So by strengthening APEC leading role for this region's economic development, China this time, I think, is ready to contribute by two aspects, by two roles. Number one, will encourage the APEC as a cooperation platform to be more inclusive and more open for every member here and outside countries of the Asia Pacific. And then number two, China, it seems to me, has ready to have a thoughtful planned ideas about how to do for the next about APEC. both multilaterally and bilaterally. For example, in bilateral arena, China will strengthen the ties with various members of this region for free trade investment and connectivities. So I think through China's contribution, the APEC will be more meaningful than before for every member of this cooperation platform. And the second significant news or information is reflect China's determination to strengthen further its ties with the 3 developing countries here by presidential visit to these 3 countries, Papua New Guinea, Brunei, and the Philippines. Especially the Philippines, I believe the international community will pay special attention to the third country, simply because of the past serious and complicated contradictions. Now is quite a stable and a solid cooperation and dialogues between the 2 countries. So basically, through the 3 state visits, China will show a new model of equal footing relationship between a largest developing country and a middle-sized and a small-sized country. And regardless of the size, all developing countries' cooperation should be on equal footing. All sovereignties should be on equal footing. And the connectivities, regardless if it's a big country or small country, should be strengthened. So through the 3 visits, I think China will practice and show the new model of cooperation between China and the developing world. And this time, I mean, through the multilateral activities in APEC and bilateral through the countries, I believe President Xi, on behalf of China, will send a stronger signal to the world that under the current international situation regarding to the protectionism widespreading, China will send a stronger signal about free trade investment, openness, and inclusiveness to the world by China's policy statement, China's new measure of openness, and China's new proposals through the multilateral and bilateral arena.
Okay, young Shiyu, thank you very much indeed for that. Well, that's it from this special edition of The World Today, but I'll be back in a couple of minutes with all the latest headlines from around the world. Join me if you can. Bye-bye.